Got some green tea here to drown my sorrows. I thought I'd be drinking something else. India would win 3-0, but it's not to be. So, series is still alive. That's right. England have managed to defend a score that didn't look too large, didn't look too bad, but didn't look too large in front of an in-form Indian batting lineup. But I tell you what, this Indian batting lineup will look at themselves today and say, not a good day. Not a good day at all. 145 for 9, falling short by 26 runs, which in a T20 game is a very large margin. Not even close. Definitely didn't look like England was under any pressure when they were bowling. So, yeah, it was definitely England's game. Leave aside maybe a couple of overs in the power play. I'm Gaurav Kapur. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. I have Zaheer Khan here with me. Also, Michael Vaughan joining us from the UK. First thoughts, Michael. Good to get England on the board. Your prediction of a 3-2 win for England in the series is still theoretically alive.
It's still alive. Just India didn't quite bring their A game with the bat in hand, but England were excellent. They bowled straighter. There was lots more variations from the pace bowlers. Clearly, they want to try and bowl rockets, but I thought the use of the slow balls tonight from all the quicks was outstanding. And if you look at the last two games, Adil Rashid's bowled 8 overs and he's got 2 wickets and he's only been hit for 29 runs in 2 games. So India have to find a way. I mean, Chakravarti's been outstanding for India and he's bamboozling the England batters, but Adil Rashid in the last 2 games, India haven't found a way of getting on top of him. He's bowling so slowly, he's getting plenty of revolutions on the ball, and they seem to be sitting in their creases. And usually with India, you get them dancing down the track trying to whack the spinners, but he's bowled beautifully, and I thought the whole team and the captaincy tonight of Jos Buttler was outstanding.
Yeah, so England, of course, bringing the A game in their bowling innings, but India not even close to. Well, not even their B game when they're batting today. They'll be disappointed with that batting effort.
Yeah, decent power play. I felt again they did well in that power play to get 52, 53 runs. I think they got in that power play.
51.
51. So that was a decent enough platform to chase down 171. I think the big wicket was Tilak. You know, the man in form, Adil Rashid chipping in with that vital breakthrough for the team at a crucial time. I think Tilak's innings would have made a huge difference because he's in that kind of a groove. Lots of confidence, having chased down in the previous match as well. The man responsible for that run chase. I think that wicket was at a crucial time for England, and loss of wicket at a crucial time for India in their run chase as well.
Yeah, and you look at that. You look at 3 wickets gone in the power play, but that's going to happen because India has been playing that hammer and tongs approach as well. And it's been coming off more often than not. But when you look at that innings progression and you look at the comparison, Michael, you see there's a couple of glaring things over there, right? The one thing being, of course, that England lost a bunch of wickets, yes. But India, in that when you put together 7 to 15, you're saying only 2 wickets lost. But you've got less than 50 runs, right? And what exactly was, I mean, yes, England was bowling well. Do you think India just didn't even take enough risks at that time? Explain that passage of play to people.
Well, I think they were just sitting in and hoping to explode at the end. But I don't think the pitch was quite as good as you usually get in Raj Cup. Usually it just skids on. I thought there was a little bit more hold in the surface. England worked that out quite quickly. For England to beat India at the minute, I feel that India have to kind of be a bit complacent, and with the bat in hand in the last couple of games, actually, you go back to the last game, it took an incredible innings for them to get over the line. The first game, they blew England away, but again tonight, you're looking at a few of the dismissals. You're looking at Sanju Samson out to the short ball once again. Suryakumar Yadav, that little flick that he plays, it's such a valuable shot for him, but it's got him out on a few occasions. And I think both sides have actually got bowling attacks that are probably looking at the batting units of the opposing team going, yeah, we've got a chance. We've got a few little tricks and a few little skill sets that we can force a bit of pressure onto a number of these players. I don't think there's many in either side in the batting department that are in real flourishing form. I think you can probably say Abhishek Sharma, you can probably go Tilak Varma, you can probably go Jos Buttler, maybe a bit of Ben Duckett. Hardik played okay tonight, but it wasn't the Hardik Pandya that we've seen in the past that explodes into life. He was very circumspect. So I think there's a few players on both sides that are not quite in the form that they would like. But full credit to the bowlers and full credit for particularly England tonight. I didn't expect them to defend that. I thought they'd get blown away, and they came with this kind of mindset of variation, and they changed a few little things up, which was nice to see.
Yeah, but, we were talking about Adil Rashid, and Zach and I were discussing this in the comm box. Yes, England have won this game, but when you watch Adil Rashid bowl, you almost look and say, well, why is Rehan Ahmed on the bench, right? And again, I always say on Cricbuzz Live, we always talk about, the thought and the philosophy. It's not, the result doesn't change what we think about that. Do you still think that Rehan should still be playing there? He would have used this surface well?
Well, without any question. I mean, you look at Adil Rashid's figures. He's gone for 29 in the last 8 overs, and clearly he's more experienced and he's got a wonderful set of variations. But eventually England will have to go to another spinner. You look at Overton, who got out first ball with the batting hand. He's kind of in the side to be that power hitter at number 7, but he bowled nicely tonight, so that'll probably keep him in the team for the next game. I'll be dead on. England will be very consistent. They won't swap and change too much. This is what they're going for. They're going for rockets. They're going for a powerful batting lineup, using one front line spinner. They've got Liam Livingston to bowl a bit of off spin, a little bit of leg spin. And knowing Baz McCullum over the last few years, he just stays very consistent. He's very stubborn. This is the way that he wants to play his T20 cricket. His battles will go even harder the next game. And we can talk till the cows come home about them being smarter and knocking the ball around. I will guarantee in a few days' time in Pune, they'll go even harder. They'll try and hit the ball out of Pune. That's the Baz McCullum way. Whether it's the right way, generally you end up in a year or so's time, or the Champions Trophy time at the end of the tournament. If you lift a trophy playing that way, fantastic, it's worked. But if you don't lift trophies playing this way, you always look back and go, do you play slightly too risky on a consistent basis? And that's going to be the challenge for England will be, can they just go from 7th gear every now and again to around 4th or 5th gear and just play a little bit smarter?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, 4th or 5th gear isn't dead stop, right? Somehow it seems for England that they think anything below 7th gear means you're going in reverse. No, there is, as Michael says, there is 3rd gear, 4th gear. Those are pretty quick as well at times. But if they hit the ball out of the Pune stadium, if you're driving on that expressway between Mumbai and Pune, just watch out, all right? Just keep one eye for comets flying in from the sky. But coming back to this game, there was, of course, risk-taking in the power play. Do you think India then just completely went actually from that 7th gear to almost 1st gear or a dead stop, like no risks were taken between 7 and 15?
That's where Adil Rashid was operating.
Yeah.
And that's passage of play where Adil Rashid is bowling, taking wicket off Tilak, and not giving anything to the batters was the decisive play by England. That's George Butler continuing with him. That was a smart tactical move, I felt. Livingston just bowling 1 over, but Adil Rashid bowling 4 overs for 15 runs, taking crucial wicket off Tilak. That's the stop of run flow. And that is the pressure which we are talking about. Yeah. So from there to consolidate, Hardik taking time, Washington Sundar looking to just be aggressor in that partnership, losing his wicket. And that is something which did put India under pressure. And that is the passage of play which you're talking about, where runs were dried. Then there is too much to do in the last 5 overs.
70 odd.
Yeah, 70 odd on this pitch was always going to be a tough ask. It was one of those days where Hardik had to then stay right till the end and play a blinder of an innings. Even though he batted well, it was just too much left for anyone to do at that stage.
Yeah, but we should talk about just that Hardik innings, because he batted well. But Michael, he will be a little disappointed in himself, because India and everyone else was expecting him to do what Tilak Varma did in the previous match, which is you've got yourself set, you just shepherd India across the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a different scenario because the run rate was a little bit higher. And if you look at his innings, there was always wickets falling at the other end. So he was just starting to get going. Then a wicket fell. He had to kind of go back into his shell. It was only into the last few overs where he kind of had that license to really strike. I think the pitch was one that just grabbed in the surface. If it had been skidding on, you'd have backed someone like Hardik Pandya to go and whack 4 or 5 sixes down the back end and potentially get India over the line. But England were excellent. They worked the conditions nicely. They realised those slow balls were going to be grabbing into the surface, and they used them on a consistent basis. And there were different styles of slow balls. There was the cutters, leg cutters. There was the off cutters. I thought the captain, Josh Butler, set some really clever fields. So I don't think it was easy for the Indian batters. But when you're chasing that kind of score, you do need one of your top four to kind of get you a number. And that really was where the game was lost for India, by England getting those key wickets, particularly those players at the top who are in great form in Abhishek and Tilak, who both of those players have been playing great for a period now. And you could sense from England, once they got Tilak with the beauty from Adil Rashid, they fancied winning the game. And in the end, I mean, we talk about England being gung-ho and playing one way. Actually, the one partnership was quite smart at the end. The last wicket partnership, you could argue, was one on the game. So the seventh gear went to around second gear for that last wicket partnership, because the old-fashioned knocked the ones and twos, got 24. What did they ended up winning by? 26. So you could argue that the last wicket partnership of smartness was the reason why England won the game.
It is. According to me, it is what won them the game, because the margin is almost exact. But it's what the end can do for you, because they were 127 for 8 and managed to get to 171. Which means, 40 odd runs added there for the last 2 wickets. But I'll tell you why the England bowlers have been so good, and I've used the conditions so well today. It is the genius of the England batters. Do you know why? Because they got out early, which means the bowlers got more time on the pitch to bat, which made them suss the conditions out well, and there you go. So it's genius.
Theoretically, yes, yeah.
You don't realize the strategy. That's the genius. But they did today, Zach. The bowlers, it's a fair shout by both of you. The England bowlers realize that it's not just Johnny Rockets. It's not just the 150 ball that you keep bowling. You've got to mix it up, the change of pace, slower ones in to the pitch, using that kind of untrue bounce of the surface. And they did that well today.
They use the conditions well. There's no doubt about it. When you're going in with 4 seamers, you are looking at using those variations as well into the pitch. Slower ones is something which was effective today. We've seen that from Indian bowlers as well. Hardik looking to use that. And previous game also, they came close. This game, they got the result which they wanted.
Yeah.
So this is definitely going to boost their morale for sure. You look at how the series started and where they are at this stage. No one would have given England a chance right now to be winning a game in the series, just the way they were approaching. But somehow, in this game, this approach has worked. They're going into Pune and then Mumbai. So both these pitches will suit their style of approach even better, I feel. So looking at that, I think this game from that point of view was of immense importance. And they've fallen right side of the result, which is going to go, I think, a long way for them in the series now, just to turn, if they have to turn things around from here.
It's crazy because, I mean, of course, I said it as a joke, but Michael Adil Rashid, after the game, I'm reading on Cricbuzz right now, has said it looked fairly slow and low when we were batting, and he spent a lot of time there. He said, so I had to adjust as a bowling unit to see if pace on or pace off worked, and we ended up getting the result. So, well, sometimes it helps when your batters go early and your bowlers get a look in with the bat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you. I mean, Bazball's all about being explosive and basically hitting boundaries and hitting sixes and then setting funky field. I don't know if Bazball's gone to a great level that they then send out bowlers to bat so they know the conditions for when they bowl. I mean, that is something new in the game, but don't rule it out. Baz McCullum does some strange things and some very visionary things. So maybe that's the new thing in the game, that you get your bowlers out there to bat so they know exactly the kind of deliveries which are the hardest to face when they come to bowl.
There is a story actually with Bishan Singh Bedi did that once with, I think, in a test game, and Sunil Gavaskar said Sunil Gavaskar was left-hand batting. There's a story with Don Bradman, I think, where they sent the bowlers out to bat on a wet pitch first and then the batters came later. There's a few cricketing trivia stories, and I'll bring them out for the next game. But right now we have to talk about this game and a few other things, which is with India's top order not coming. I think we have to talk about one thing, as it was pointed out, Sanju Samson once again to pace to a ball rushing onto him. So that's something that England will be looking at and thinking, okay, this may be his Achilles heel, that if you just bowl fast to him, we bowl short to him, because this is his third kind of low score in a row.
Yeah, all the dismissals to short pitch delivery, and not just him. Generally from England team, you've seen all the bowlers have been using those short pitch delivery. So that is just the part of the plan, which I feel from the English bowlers. But Sanju Samson getting out is only going to boost that plan even further, and persistence with that plan will be visible in the coming games as well. With the power play, you see it's conscious effort from the Indian batters to maybe look at that 60 as a number. And even in the process, if you're losing 2 wickets or 3, they don't mind that. That's generally the approach which gives Abhishek and Sanju Samson that license to go really hard after the bowling.
Yeah, and with Sky's batting again, we discussed this, Michael, in the pre-game show. And I know your name is Sky, but you don't have to hit every one of them in the sky. And he hits them really high. And this one again was, I think the hang time was about 18 or 19 seconds or some such. But what would you, I know that you've said that he has to probably keep playing the way that he's playing, but perhaps on this surface and with the wickets fallen around, maybe just a little bit of criticism to him today?
Yeah, without any question. It's a few times on the trot where he's been getting out to quite a soft dismissal. When you say be aggressive all the time, it's choosing the right ball to be aggressive too. Clearly, you can't hit every single ball to the boundary, and some of these players in this era, they've got so much skill and talent that they think they can. It's just not possible. And you're looking at India for them to be the team that we know that they are. They're the world champions for a reason. You need your best players in really good form. And the only way that your best players get into good form is by spending time in the middle. And at the minute, Suryakumar is going out there, he's hitting a few good shots. And then before you kind of blinked, he's back on his way back to the dugout without making too much of a contribution. So for the team and for him as a captain, if there was ever a time for him to just step back and go from 5th gear to 3rd gear, just to give himself a chance to get in, it's probably now. Because you're not talking about huge numbers. You're not chasing 210, 220. Tonight's target was a very reasonable target just to play sensibly to chase it down. And you look at a lot of the early dismissals, and of course you have to capitalise on the power play. But if you look at a lot of the dismissals, and it's been a common trend now, there's too many consistent dismissals throughout the kind of both teams. And that's when you start to, as a coaching unit, as a leadership group, start looking at the individual players and saying, come on, what can we do about that? Is there anything else that you could do to make sure that doesn't happen again? Because for India to come back, and I'm sure they will, they're not going to play any worse, I can't imagine, in a few days' time, but it will need maybe Sky just saying, okay, I just need to bat 15 balls to get myself in, look at the dimensions of the ground. And you just know once he's in and he's got the use of the conditions, the pace, all the different skill sets that's going to come at him, he's got the game to just go and explode into the boundary hitting mode that we know that he can. So, if there was ever a time for him to just step back slightly, it's possibly now.
It's interesting because it's a 170 chase, so it's not astronomical, and then you lose by 26 runs. So that's a very big margin given the 170. And then when you look at the power play, you're saying yes, you're wanting to maximize the power play. You've only got as many as England did, but you've lost 2 wickets more.
Yep.
So, which means that somewhere you look at that power play and say, all right, we were neck and neck in terms of runs, but we obviously took infinite more risk because we've lost 2 extra wickets. So there is something maybe which needs to be recalibrated there in the thinking for the next game.
Well, you look at phase-wise. The first phase is important phase. Yes, you've lost more wickets than you expected or you ideally would have liked. But then after that, the next phase is the 7 to 10 over and then 10 to 15 over. That's the crucial phase. 9 overs, I think you lost the tempo there.
Yeah.
So the tempo which ideally the batter should have maintained right throughout that middle phase, that's the 20-run margin which you're looking at. You have 9 overs to cover 20 runs. Yeah. And if you add those 20 runs, you're chasing last 5 overs, 50 runs.
Yeah.
And that's a different ball game. Then it's equal pressure on the bowlers at that stage to commit those errors. And I think that was the missing link. So I wouldn't go too much looking into the first phase because you got to achieve that right balance of aggressive approach as well in the power play. And that's the most important phase of the game. And there is a risk to reward ratio. So if you're losing 2 wickets, on an average, if you're losing 2 wickets, you're fine. I think 3 is a little too much. So that's the balance you're looking at. But for Indian team, I think the tempo in the middle overs was lost, which they couldn't recover.
Yeah, and we'll just talk about...
Just on Suryakumar, if I was India, I would want Suryakumar Yadav in at the crease when Adil Rashid comes on. Because he's such a brilliant player at spin, and he could actually hit Adil in his first over or two to put him under pressure. At the minute, Adil Rashid's coming onto ball and Suryakumar's not there. Yeah. He's been getting out deeply to the seam bowlers. So that's why I say if he just steps back a little bit and plays normally against the seamers till around the 7th, 8th over, that's when Adil Rashid comes on. If he's in there, and if he's 15, 20 not out by just playing normally, by the time that the spinner comes on, he's got the game and the skill to really challenge Adil Rashid. He's the one right-hander that I would say that Adil Rashid's probably really worried about. But Adil Rashid's always been coming on when Suryakumar sat in the dugout. So it's worth him just playing a little bit patiently, just a little bit more through the seamers so he can actually get to Adil Rashid.
Yeah, it's a good point because Adil Rashid has bowled 4 overs for 15 runs and no matter how good and how dangerous a bowler is, you're looking at a T20I and saying, well, at least going to get a run a ball of this guy, right? Even if you want to give him the utmost respect, one boundary ball is going to come, at least in the spell, right? And you want to get at least a run a ball. So somebody bowling 24 balls for just 15 runs with those many dot balls, that you've really gone into your shell. Or he has really bamboozled you, a bit like Varun did to the England players. He's kind of bamboozled you in your head where you've just clamped down.
No, he did bowl very well in that phase. He was accurate. He was using his googly well. He was turning the ball big. Joss had leg slip as well, when the left-hander was on strike. So all those aspects make it difficult. And also, that's why Tilak Varma's wicket was so crucial at that stage. Yeah. Because he's the man in form. You needed someone who can just counter at that stage, which the luxury was not there with the Indian team.
Yeah, and this is what Surya said. Surya was also obviously full of praise for Adil Rashid. He said, I felt that there would be a little dew later in the day. Even though I think Ravi Shastri did mention that there was no dew yesterday, but maybe they thought that there will be some. He said, I felt we had the game in our hands when Hardik and Akshar were batting. Credit goes to Adil Rashid. He bowled really well. That's why he's a world-class bowler. He didn't allow us to rotate the strike. That's why we had a lot of spinners in our side as well. So exactly what we're saying. Adil Rashid putting a real clamp on the India batters, and he kind of operating in that 7 to 15 is where he choked the run chase for India and won the game for England. But coming to the spinners, well, Michael, India had a quintet of spinners, 5 spinners used today. I don't even remember when that happened last in a T20I game. Well, I said that actually it happened 3 days ago. India did it. But before that, I don't remember when 5 spinners have played. Do you think that sometimes, even though, yes, it could be spin friendly and a team's batters are not used to spin, but 5 maybe is one too many?
Yeah, I mean, if you're picking on one over, I think the Bishnoi over to Liam Livingston.
19 runs.
Yeah, that was a big play in the game. That was a big momentum shift. Clearly, Liam was going to try and hit the ball out of the park. He was down to the last couple of wickets, and it was a license for him to strike. And I kind of look at that. You look at Axar Patel, he bowled nicely, 3 overs, 1 for 19. Could they have used Axar Patel for that over? But you kind of nitpick him, really, because at the halfway house, I think we're all sat on this show thinking that they'd not got enough. India should have chased that down. And, you're looking at an Indian batting display, really, is the reason why India have lost the game. I thought they bowled okay. I thought they fielded okay. I just think the batting tonight, and it's been 2 games on the trot now where they've not quite had that momentum and that kind of that flow of Indian batting that we've been so used to seeing over the last year or so, where 2 or 3 just look like they're just going to dominate and destroy the opposing bowling attack. There's a few of them that just maybe have been found out with a couple of dismissals, particularly Sanju at the top of the order. He's certainly been found out with the quick stuff and the rockets that England are throwing down at him. But I don't. When you kind of analysing T20 cricket, it's very hard to be ultra critical of small tactics, because at the time Bishnoi bowled that over, we probably all thought, well, it's probably the right bowler to be bowling, but he got hit by Liam Livingston hitting it nicely. And as I said, they should have chased that down. If they'd have played with any kind of sense and smartness, they should have been able to chase that total down.
India will be thinking though, Zach. I mean, even though won the second game, but there was a batting collapse there as well, where Tilak had to come and rescue. And the first game, well, England had a batting collapse, so there was not much to chase. So in a way, actually, there is not... in the 3 games, there is no batting effort which you'd give A++ up against difficulty and succeeding, right, as a batting unit. So I think Michael has a point where yes, India's won the 2 games, but the bowling is definitely outperforming the batting.
Yeah, you can look at it that way, but just generally, you've seen that this format allows you to be like that. There will be some erratic patterns which will develop. There will be good days, there will be bad days. So that's something which you have to take it just as a general process. You've seen Indian batting was still better than the English batting. I think English batters have taken it to the other side of things.
Yeah.
You've seen that effort by the Indian batters, maybe a little fine tuning in terms of the options they are taking against this bowling lineup is something which is debatable. They'll have to definitely have conversations around that. English bowlers, the fast bowlers, are getting better. In the previous game also, you've seen they utilize the conditions better. Their lengths were better in this game. The previous game, they were too short, and that's why the runs which were going behind the wicket, that number was high. But if you look at from this game, also the conditions assisted that, but they were able to be brave to get the ball up to the batters and looking for them to hit down the ground. And I think that's something which worked in their favor nicely. That's why the series now suddenly come alive with this win for England, for them to maybe fine-tune a little and create that competition. But knowing Indian batters, I think they will have their homework cut out before the next game.
Yeah, well, knowing England, I can tell you for the 4th game, while they will, of course, get their strategy in place, just like Jos Buttler did today with bowling, they are not going to change the 11. They're not going to do it. Right?
They have
Michael?
a forced change. Forced change in Smith.
Jamie Smith.
Yeah, Jamie Smith had a calf injury. I think he was doubtful before the start of the game.
So
they made him keep the wickets, but now he went back again and Phil Salt took the games from him.
So which means that maybe not him then for the next one?
I think there will be one change.
Okay, so besides the forced change, Michael?
I think Jacob Bethel
Michael's doing this again. Michael's like the spinners coming in. Michael, I have footage of you for 3 games now doing this.
But it won't be the front line spinner Rehan Ahmed. It'll be Jacob Bethel will come in. So he'll play. He played the first game. He'll come back in, and if they need an over or 2 from a left-arm spinner, I'm pretty sure that's what they'll go with.
So that's it. If the first change, Jacob Bethel, but not making a change to their bowling, and maybe after today, if you need to make a change, even if you say you want to get the spinner in, who do you get him in for? Because you've got to, again, like Michael said last time, either you tell Jofra Archer or Mark Wood, yes, you've bowled 3 matches in a go, right? You're bowling your 150 rockets, because Jamie Overton did well today with the ball. Bryden Cass has done well in 2 games now. Those 2 are not going. So then I guess if you want to get a spinner in, it's only in place of Wood or Archer.
Well, we all can talk about it, but they're not even thinking about it. So I will not waste my energy on that.
Shifted.
Yeah, I mean, if at all they would have been thinking about it, they would have made that change in Chennai.
Yeah.
That's the most ideal pitch for that, or Rajkot.
I love it. And the India team, we'll look at the India team. Just remember now that Rinku Singh is available for the 4th game in Pune. Right? Rinku Singh was not there for the 2nd and the 3rd game, which means he is available. Now, what do you do here? Because do you get Dhruv Jurel now, who's had 2 games, but today was hardly an opportunity. You come in with 15, 16 balls to spare. You've got like 45, 50 odd runs. Game's almost done. Right? He comes in at number 8. Now, do you say, all right, sorry, buddy, Rinku's in, you played in his place, you're out?
I think Arshdeep needs to come in.
Yeah.
Looking at the venue as well, 5 spinners on that venue is a bit too much.
Okay.
So you can still achieve that balance of Shami, Hardik and Arshdeep, along with maybe Varun, Bishnoi and Aksar.
Okay.
So you'll have to figure that out. Maybe you have to, if Washi goes out, so be it. If you feel Washi is important, then you get 1 spinner out of your choice.
Bishnoi?
That's the call they have to make. I think it's just about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Maybe for pitch in Pune, they'll need 3-seam attack. It's just going to give them a decent balance.
What do you think? Michael? Because obviously, yes, Arshdeep sat out today's game for Mohammad Shami, and of course, it makes a difference because you see those 44 runs added for the last 2 wickets, and it takes you back to, well, that's where Arshdeep would have operated, right? because that was the last 4 overs. He would have operated there and perhaps would have closed the game out.
Yeah, I think Bishnoi will miss out. I think they go to Arshdeep, who's magnificent. I think the positive for India was Mohammad Shami being back on the field, and he bowled okay. He looked like he had half decent rhythm, so you'd want to give him another game. And Zach's right, Pune, you need an extra seam option, and that's pretty much what they'll do. I mean, the one thing I'll say is that of the two teams, England are getting better. If you look at their scores, it's gradually getting higher. They're getting a little bit more every time, and maybe eventually, this method might rock up and fire. It might just get lucky on Friday in Pune, and the ball might fly to all parts. And the bowling is getting better. I think they're learning that you can't just bowl rockets all the time. You have to have lots of variations. I think the field that Josh Butler's been setting tonight was again just slightly different from the first 2 games. So he's kind of understanding these pitches, and England have put in a lot better performance tonight than they did in the previous game, and certainly that first game in Calcutta where they were nowhere near the races. So India will have to find that rhythm of play that they've had over the last year to beat this England side. The one thing for sure with Baz McCullum, England won't be scared of going out there and having a dash and playing with a real kind of freedom of positivity. So England are getting a bit better, which is great to see, and I would expect India to play a lot better than they did tonight on Friday.
Okay, so yes, you're looking at perhaps one change for England, definitely one change for India. You can't go into Pune with just the 2 pace options, right? You have to get a third one in.
Well, even with the spin options, you're not utilizing all the spin options to its optimum capacity. So you can make do with one less spinner and yet get the same impact, and yet have the option of a wicket taker.
Yeah.
So you've right now made that change today, bringing in Shami, which is important from his fitness point of view. But you sacrificed your key bowler,
Leading wicket taker
in a crucial game.
Yeah.
You could have closed the series today, which would have given you even more time to experiment in the last 2 games. I think that they missed that trick in this game, and the pressure suddenly is back onto them again. But they can rectify it sooner than later.
Well, there's one guy on whom there is no pressure, right? Or even when there is, it doesn't look like there is. And he has had a magic here, and which is why he has walked away with the accolades. I'm talking about Jasprit Bumrah. Even though India's lost today, India won the big prize yesterday, which is him becoming the ICC Men's Test Cricketer of the Year, the Cricketer of the Year, and couldn't be a better guy. I mean, that's just a small abridged list of achievements, Michael. I mean, what we haven't added to that is pretty much carried India through most of the last 12 months.
I mean, we're talking about a cricketer that and a bowler that is, and it's not just myself. There's been many ex-players, and you're going back to the likes of Ravi Shastri. You're going Adam Gilchrist, Mark Waugh, Kerry O'Keefe from Australia. They're all saying that he's the best bowler they've ever seen, and the spell that he produced in Perth in that first Test match was the best spell that they'd ever seen. He's a wonderful cricketer. Such a skillful bowler. He's got every attribute that you'd want as a fast bowler. He's got that awkward action. He's got that release point that's just that little bit sooner than many other bowlers. And I think when he finishes, his numbers, I mean, he's averaging under 20 in Test match cricket, which is up there with the greatest that's ever played the game, and I can't imagine it's going to get any higher. I think he'll probably get better and better, and that average will end up being around 19 by the time that he finishes. So he deserves every accolade that comes his way.
Zach, I mean, you've obviously seen him from a very young age. Do you remember your kind of first lengthy interaction with him, or do you recall a time where you saw this guy and you said, because you've seen a lot of young bowlers, do you remember the time where you kind of realization dawned on you that this guy is extra special?
For a bowler to be able to have this kind of impact, you got to be thinking about the game. You got to be able to analyze the game. You got to be able to keep evolving yourself until you reach that tipping point. And I think Bumrah has reached that tipping point in his career. When the experience also playing a part, his understanding of his own body, his own bowling, his own rhythm. It's just becoming better and better. And I think this was the defining year for him in his international career when he's able to back that all up with performances. I think it's just about making sure that you are fit and available through and through because it's only going to have the compounding effect as he moves along from here.
Yeah.
Because he just achieved and figured out the whole method of success and creating this impact at this level.
Yeah, but do you remember some interactions with him at MI perhaps? That's where you would have spent some time.
Plenty.
with-
That's when I say that he's a stubborn genius. I've called him a stubborn genius
Yeah.
for that reason, and rightly so. Because when you are thinking about the game, you yourself, when you're analyzing it so much, you are more assured of your actions. And then when you have that clarity, then it's always those conversations become interesting.
Yeah.
So even if you're giving some different perspective, he will be having his own thought around that and saying that, oh, but I tried this, but that has not worked for me. And then, this is how I approach and this is what works for me. I've always been telling him that, you got to go for that outswinger. The day I saw him in Sri Lanka when he started, I can't recall the year exactly, but he started bowling before he played test matches. He started bowling consistently away-going deliveries to right-hander with the white ball. And that's when I said, he's ready for test matches.
Yeah.
Because till that point, maybe awkward action, yes. Pace, yes. But the angle was pretty much coming into the right-hander, which at times becomes easier for you because, there's no threat of the ball leaving you. So I can just align myself with my technique to be just ready to counter those deliveries. But the moment he started bowling those away-going deliveries, it's just a different ball game for batters and a nightmare.
Yeah.
So it just continued from there. And now since his back injury, he's been more smart in terms of approaching and sustaining better. So, you then start thinking more around how you can conserve yet be effective and create that kind of impact. So that process also is complete for him. And that's why the impact is felt even more.
I love that term, stubborn genius. And I want to ask Michael, you've captained so many players. Any player comes to your mind who fits that description? Any player you captained who was stubborn genius?
Stubborn genius. I would say Kevin Peterson's probably the closest to that. He certainly was a genius. I don't think he wasn't that stubborn, really. But Jasprit Bumrah, wow, he is up there with the greats. If you're picking a World 11 now of all time players across all formats, Jasprit certainly gets in every single team.
Wow, that's a big call. And also congratulations to Smriti Mandhana, who won the ICC ODI Player of the Year. So another player who I love watching bat, and I know all the number 18 fans go crazy because number 18 there as well. You got to be a world champion if you wear number 18. So Smriti there. So Smriti won for the ODI player. So she's won in the women. So bringing accolades to India there as well. So both Jasprit Bumrah and Smriti Mandhana. So congratulations to both of them. But an even bigger prize than that, the biggest prize of all, is the person who answers the joy factor question. Because those are tougher to win than the Oscar, than the ICC award, than the Pulitzer Prize, than the Nobel Prize. But I tell you what, this one, Joy, Michael, Vaughan and I have both got correct. And if both of us have got correct, which means this was a very, very simple question. It was, right? No, there's no lie there. Also because we both watched the Big Bash. I watched the final yesterday. It was absolutely fantastic. The batting by Michael Owen. We're going to talk about that for a second, Michael, because, Mitchell Owen. Michael's in UK, by Mitch Owen there, who scored that century. He closed that game out. He closed that final out in the first 5 or 6 overs. It was done. It was the Hurricanes who had it after the first 5 overs.
Yeah, he's had a really good Big Bash. He's a player that you need to keep a close eye on. I'm pretty sure if there's any dropouts in the IPL, you look at someone like Ricky Ponting with his team, and if he has a dropout, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they go with Mitch Owen to come and replace whoever drops out or there's an injury. He whacks it. He whacks it absolutely miles, and he whacks spin, he whacks paces. He can also bowl a few little dibbly dobblers as well, and he's a good fielder. So I think we're going to be seeing a little bit of Mitch Owen over the next few years. He's a wonderful player.
Yeah, and we figured that that's what the question was, and that was it. Yeah, Mitch Owen is the answer, and the first person to get the correct answer in was Arvind, AKD champ. That's it. So Arvind, congratulations. You're the first one to get the correct answer in, and yes, because yesterday was the hurricane. The hurricanes hit the thunder, right? So that's what happened. As a weather phenomena, a hurricane is always greater than thunder. So they were bound to win yesterday and they won it. It's a good team. I was rooting for them. Michael, I don't know if you can say who you're rooting for because you work on that tournament. So you have to be neutral, do you?
I was actually, I was rooting for David Warner and his Thunder team, and Sam Billings plays for the Thunder. So, but I've got a bit of a soft spot for the Hurricanes because Chris Jordan plays for them. But they've been the standout team. They've been absolutely. They were bought out for 74 in their first game, and got blown away on that first occasion, and then just found consistency. And they found Mitch Owen at the top of the order, who was crashing it to all parts. So first time they've won the Big Bash, and it probably won't be the last with that squad of players. Yeah,
I forgot. Obviously, you'd be rooting for Sydney Thunder because your paddle partner Sam Billings is there. So yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, well, so that wraps business. I got to congratulate Michael Vaughan for, was it Zach who got the power play score correct?
Me.
Oh, it was you. Congratulations. Big round of applause.
Finally, I got one right.
Finally. It's a big day. Yeah, that's why I had green tea in my cup and you had something. No, we won't tell you. We're not going to tell you. We'll tell you when you join us for the next game. And that's on Friday, the 31st. So do join us then. We'll be here with you at 6:30 p.m. India Standard Time. I want to thank Michael Vaughan. Thank you for joining us from the UK. Thank you very much. Big thank you to Zaheer Khan. Thank you for being here. I'm Gaurav Kapur. You were watching Cricbuzz Live. We'll see you on Friday. Good night.